All right, now I'm at this last section, which is gynophobia, and this follows for me logically on from this last little discussion which we just opened. Remember that these are complex topics, and so I'm just launching them for discussion. I'm not trying to take them up exhaustively. Many of you or some of you will want to write on these issues. I don't want to like say every word there is to say about this stuff, because why? You need a chance to think about it for yourself and figure out what you want to do. Okay, so with gynophobia, basically this is another one of these Freudian terms where basically it's just fear of the fear of women's for better for want of a better way to put it, fear of women's sexual organs or the whole reproductive system, the womb, childbirth, menstruation, the uterus and the fallopian tube. As I say, the whole sort of reproductive system, the vagina, the labia. Yeah, I mean, it's just men's fear. It's just men's being freaked out with women's biology. Is gynophobic, and that is phobic of the gyna. And so we see this most clearly when we first go into the hive. And so have a look at that. Okay, here we go.
I'm not making that out too well. What is it, Hudson?
You tell me, man. I only work here.
What is that?
I don't know.
Proceed inside.
Okay, so here they are in the hive, and Gorman, who essentially is a virgin because he hasn't, he's not a battlefield, he hasn't been, he's not experienced on the battlefield, so he's still a virgin. He's a greenie. He's an FNG, a fucking new guy, right, from Platoon. So he's very dangerous and to everybody. I mean, he may get them killed because he doesn't know what he's doing, and so he is also inexperienced, and in this case sexually inexperienced in that sense. It's sort of battle, sex, it's all kind of the same thing. And he says to Ripley, what's that? It's like, what the hell am I looking at? So he's sort of confronted. This is like being confronted with boy being confronted with the vagina for the first time and going, what the hell is that? I've never seen this before. I'm used to my penis. What is this? And they're all like, well, what's your problem? Like, this is what we all have these. What do you have? What is that? So that's, and she's like, well, I don't know. so it's interesting because she's like, but he's disgusted. And that's the trick. And so the reading here that was often given was that the men soldiers, because there are female soldiers, go into the hive essentially like a bunch of male gametes is the way it's put, but really what they mean is sperm. And so off they go, flying down the tubes, and then they get into a war in the womb. It's like, what the hell? Like, who dreamed this up? Well, Giger dreamed this up. And Giger was one weird individual. He was this amazing Swiss artist, surrealist, who designed the first Aliens, and the whole sort of, and they're gynophobic. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. I mean, this is not a guy who was like, oh, I love women. It's like, no, he had a very strange relationship with the world. But anyway, and then it gets worse. Okay, so here's the famous chest burster scene. There had to be at least one. Okay, so here we go.
You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right.
Please. Kill me.
Just stay calm. We're gonna get you out of here. You're gonna be all right. Give me a hand. We gotta get her out of here.
What's going on?
Convulsion.
Vincent, get back! Get back!
Damn it!
Superstar, move!
Okay. So this discussion, or the chest burster, it was clear when we saw the first one in 1979 in the first movie that what we were looking at was this weird combination of both female and male sexual organs. So here's this thing which sort of looks like a vagina, kind of, over your face, but then it's got a tube down your throat, so it's a penis, and it's injecting sperm or eggs into your into the essentially wherever it's going to breed, and then this is going to burst out of your chest like a pregnancy, like a birth, and when it does burst out of the chest, it looks like a penis. It looks like this is a sort of, so the whole thing is so screwed up and strange. And this is all Giger's doing. I mean, this was Giger's design, and they stayed with it because you can't beat that. It's just so weird and strange and repulsive, and it's like, oh my god, And then they gave it metal teeth, and it's like, okay, this is a truly horror thing. And so they have to burn it, right? And when they burn it, it sags, and you're like, okay, so it's another penis. So it's a penis. So, but the way that this is read is pregnancy anxiety, right? And when we said this initially, people were like, pregnancy anxiety, that's nonsense. It's ridiculous. It's like, yeah, well, have a look at this, which they originally cut out of the first release because it was too long. And then when Cameron got his way, and because the film became such a success, they released it on Laserdisc, and they put back all scenes, and finally they released the whole version on DVD and then on Blu-ray, and the film bulked back up to nearly 4 hours, which is how long it had originally been. They cut it down to 2 hours and 20 minutes, because if you don't cut a film down to 2 hours and 20 minutes, you're not going to get 4 showings in a day, which is what you want to do if you're going to make money. Anything that's longer than that, you won't make enough money, is the argument. The films which sort of broke those rules finally were the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, because they were so good, and people were just crammed in to see them, that they could just go on playing them forever and ever, and then people would still go on lining up. So that was sort of that's what broke the hold on timing in films. But still, part of Hollywood is the Hollywood pre-COVID, and this will all come back. Like, oh, it's the end of theaters. It's like, well, whatever. It's just people are desperate to write stories. Theaters will open up again. It won't be the same people because they'll have been broke. But anyway, so but the 2 hour 20 minutes is the magical number now. So Cameron had to cut the film down to 2 hours and 20 minutes. Okay, so here's the scene that was cut out. So have a look at this discussion between Newt and Ripley.
Did one of those things grow inside her?
I don't know, Newt. That's the truth.
Isn't that how babies come? I mean, people babies, they grow inside you.
No, that's very different.
Did you ever have a baby?
Yes, I did.
What we just saw there was Newt's question to Ripley, which is, isn't that how human babies come? Well, that's the pregnancy anxiety right there. So we were like, aha. See, so it took about 6 years, I think, for them to begin releasing these special editions. I remember buying it on VHS. I bought it on VHS in the original edition, which was not even widescreen. Then the second edition, then they released a special letterbox edition, which had all this stuff back into it. But some of the editions that were released in Britain had some of this stuff. And I remember getting cuts of those. Anyway, and then we have the very final scene that I want to show you, where they get into the med lab when they're first getting into the station. And we see these specimens of these face huggers. And Cameron, I guess, decided to show people who hadn't seen the film yet how these things work. And so Burke is deliberately warned by Hicks, don't get too close. Right, and the first thing he does is, because he's an arrogant son of a bitch, is he gets close to the thing and it comes up against the tank, and it gives you a nice jump scare, as they're called in horror movies, which are usually sort of, you know, the cheap scare. Everybody jumps back. I remember when that happened, and I was sitting with my friend in the first, like, I don't know, the third row back from the screen. So we were we were looking up like, this is, the screen was huge, and the whole row went like we could. I've never been in a row where I felt 40 people, you know, jump back at the same time. It was really something. I thought the row was going to tear it on the floor. It was a testament to the bolts in that cement. Anyway, so here's Burke. Okay, have a look at this.
Careful, Burke.
Looks like love at first sight to me.
So, you know, Hicks says it likes you. But we also cannot avoid the fact that what we're looking at here is some kind of combination of penis, vagina, thing which is coming for you.